Wak gana harates, nagayas tuaskane, wakachineti gana gitre, disne wakachinetiat, hana gane thuitre neque, dani giathe, rahnawa gavaxina hiawawe, chukna gegisisete, Skarure diwagafnutne. De gat gut ne gut en gene Skarure genis hath nwagarakwe. Greetings. I hope that you are all at peace. I am glad to be here, and am glad that you are here also. Donnie is my name. He is a current in the swamp is my traditional name. Beaver is my clan, Tuscarora is my nation. I come from the Drowning Creek Tuscarora Nation Longhouse. Today I speak to you on behalf of the Tuscarora Nation, North Carolina, the official governing body of the Tuscarora people in this state, and the inheritor of our people's sovereignty, first recorded through a treaty with the colony of North Carolina in 1712. Our nation's relationship with the government of this land has been unbroken since that treaty. The Tuscarora people between the Pamlico and Neuse Rivers, and later those of Indian Woods, led by Chief Tom Blount, entered into peace agreements that established a government-to-government relationship and recognized Tuscarora territorial rights. Those treaties, recorded and ratified by colonial authorities, have never been lawfully extinguished by an act of the state or the United States. The Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina stands today as the living continuation of those families who remained in our homeland, survived Indian removal, and maintained our governance, customs, and responsibilities as a sovereign people. It is essential to clarify a distinction often misunderstood or deliberately blurred. The Tuscarora of Indian Woods under Chief Blount represented what historians now call the Northern Village Tuscarora. These were the leaders who negotiated peace with the colony and secured the rights of our people. Tuscaroras from the southern villages of Kahtehnuaka, once led by Chief Hancock, resisted those terms and later migrated north after Hancock's death. Those northern migrants eventually joined the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and became known as the Tuscarora Indian Nation of New York. The Tuscarora who remained, primarily those who moved their council fire to the swamps of present-day Robeson County, did so to preserve our cohesion, culture, and survival. They are the direct ancestors of the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina as it exists today. Archival records from the 1840s confirm that the last Tuscarora families from Indian Woods joined kin who had already resettled in Robeson County generations earlier. Events surrounding the Lowry War of the 19th century demonstrated that the state and federal governments were fully aware of the continued Tuscarora settlement and resistance in the region. Representative Hamilton McMillan, who served Robeson County in the late 1800s, documented that the people he called Croatan openly identified as Tuscarora and used Croatan only as a village name. Despite that truth, McMillan sponsored legislation that reclassified our people and established an Indian normal school, a measure designed to assimilate Tuscaroras under a state-sponsored identity that erased treaty entitlements and obligations. When Charles A. Pierce, superintendent of Indian schools, investigated that normal school in 1912, he met with a Tuscarora elder who stated that his grandfathers had been Tuscarora. These accounts confirmed that Tuscarora governance and cultural continuity persisted despite outside interference and renaming. Our sovereignty did not end with the colonial period. It was reaffirmed under the Indian Reorganization Act of the 1930s, which recognized Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina as continuing their tribal governance, their rights, under federal Indian law. After this reaffirmation, Tuscarora citizens received federal services and housing improvements during the 1970s, direct results of their recognized tribal status. In 1978, Chief Leon Locklear Gahent joined other tribal leaders on the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs to petition for the restoration of full state recognition of tribes, such as the Lumbee and Halawa, who have maintained their relationship with the state. That same year, Bruce Jones, director of the commission and a Lumbee citizen, publicly acknowledged that the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina had maintained its governmental and cultural relationship with the state since Aboriginal times. The Tuscarora Nation has repeatedly defended its sovereignty against political and legislative efforts to erase or absorb our identity. In 1991, congressional testimony on the Lumbee Act made clear that without amendment, the Tuscarora communities of Robeson County would be forcibly absorbed under the Lumbee designation, a move that would unlawfully extinguish Tuscarora sovereignty and enrollment. Despite warnings from legal experts and tribal historians, these threats persist. The Lumbee Fairness Act of 2019, which continues today, its subsequent reintroduction continued to advance this danger, claiming jurisdiction over Tuscarora citizens without our consent, while denying us equal federal recognition. It must be stated clearly that the Tuscarora treaties, state law recognizing our sovereignty and land claims, and our reaffirmation under the Indian Reorganization Act all predate the Lumbee Act of 1956 and the recent establishment of the Tuscarora Indians of the Kahtehnuaka territories, or TIOKT, which certain legislators have attempted to promote. These foundational legal instruments confirm that Tuscarora sovereignty stands on its own authority. The Tuscarora treaties and land leases signed by the ancestors of today's Tuscarora citizens supersede the Lumbee Act of 1956 under established principles of treaty law. The creation of splinter groups such as the TIOKT, led by K.L. Little Turtle, a longtime Lumbee and Catawba collaborator, has deepened confusion about who the Tuscarora truly are. Little Turtle, who formerly represented his dance troupe Warpaint as Lumbee, later rebranded himself as Tuscarora and attempted to overthrow the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina from within. After securing political support from sympathetic legislators, his attempted coup failed, but outside influence allowed TIOKT to be postured as a representative of the Tuscarora in North Carolina, despite existing for only a few years. In reality, the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina, alongside the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, remains one of the only unbroken Native nations in this state. The very name, Tuscarora Indians of the Kahtehnuaka territories, is misleading, referring to a village abandoned over 3 centuries ago, more than 100 miles northeast of Robeson County. The people of that village migrated north. That false association deepens public confusion and misleads legislators about who the Tuscarora people are in North Carolina today. Recent alliances between the Lumbee tribe and the Catawba Indian Nation have created a web of economic and political entanglements that undermine Tuscarora sovereignty. Their 2023 Treaty of Mutual Cooperation, combined with casino projects and construction partnerships, has consolidated wealth and power among their leadership while excluding other indigenous nations. The Metcon Corporation, a Lumbee-owned firm, has been a primary beneficiary of Catawba casino construction in Kings Mountain and Rock Hill, reinforcing Lumbee-Catawba economic ties. Former Lumbee chairman Harvey Godwin Jr., now a member of the Catawba Foundation, has overseen programs funded by Catawba casino revenues, including grants to Lumbee-led institutions and commissions that exclude the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina. Jared Lowry, former North Carolina House of Representatives member and now Department of Interior's Affairs representative, along with his brother John Lowry, the current Lumbee tribal chairman, have each used their platforms to advance Lumbee and Catawba priorities while marginalizing Tuscarora reaffirmation efforts. Their actions alongside Metcon's financial partnerships present a broader effort to concentrate power and economic control while silencing other tribal governments, particularly the Tuscarora, whose sovereignty predates both tribes. Despite these political and institutional barriers, the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina continues to thrive. According to the most recent U.S. Census, the Tuscarora are the 4th largest tribal population in North Carolina, behind the behind the Halawasaponi and ahead of the Kahari, with the majority of citizens residing in Robeson and Cumberland counties. In 2024, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, working in partnership with the Center for Biological Diversity, formally acknowledged the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina as a federally recognized tribe in its submission of the Red Wolf Wildlife Crossing Pilot Project grant to the Federal Highway Administration. This recognition reaffirms that the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina maintains active government-to-government relationships at both the state and federal levels. Let there be no misunderstanding. The Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina has never been a part of the Lumbee tribe, the Catawba Nation, or the TIOKT. These entities may work together for their own political and financial interests, but they do not represent the Tuscarora people, our treaties, or our government. Our treaties of 1712, 1713, and 1717 remain binding. Our sovereignty has been reaffirmed through federal law, state acknowledgement, and the unbroken governance of our people. We call upon the Congress and United States Senate to reaffirm these truths, that the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina remains a treaty-recognized sovereign nation, that our right to self-governance must be upheld independently of Lumbee and Catawba political influence, that economic and legislative consolidation cannot override our inherent sovereignty, and that the Lumbee Fairness Act and any other similar measures must be amended to protect, not erase, Tuscarora identity and treaty rights. The main points here are this. The Tuscarora Indians of the Kahtehnuaka territories do not speak nor represent the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina and our people. We stand not in opposition to progress, but in defense of the truth. The truth that the Tuscarora have governed, endured, and defended these lands for over 3 centuries. Ethwake, Nagayestwaskene,